Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Destructicon, and today I shall be reviewing Metro Exodus. After a lot of controversy surrounding the game due to the decision to move to the Epic Store, I was happy to find that the actual game itself was of great quality and very enjoyable in its own way. I will also be sharing a few of my thoughts on the Epic Store issue. So without further ado, let's get into it. Metro Exodus is a single-player FPS survival horror game from developer 4A Games and publisher Deep Silver. While the industry trends nowadays overwhelmingly in favor of multiplayer, Metro boldly and confidently embraces its roots to build an immersive and rich single-player experience which will grip you and take you on a terrifyingly human story of survival and hope. In Metro, you take up the mantle of Artyom, the previous game's protagonist, on his journey of exploration. But unlike the previous Metro games, Exodus is semi-open in its nature, foregoing some of the underground settings as you'll make your way across the vastness of post-apocalyptic Russia. This change in setting is executed incredibly in Exodus via beautiful visuals, aided by the better, more modern engine. The engine does textures, water, lighting, and snow remarkably, bringing the post-apocalyptic world to life in great detail. Metro also doesn't fall into the trap of using watered-down colors and an overabundance of gray. Its environments are appropriately colorful and at times lush and vibrant. This is also helped by the choice to visit several different environment types, tackling everything from the frozen tundra to the desert to a beautiful temperate forest. All the small details are handled exquisitely, such as the character animations, the moisture and particle effects which will accumulate on your gas mask, and the incorporation of the heads-up display into your character's suit. I might even go so far as to say Metro Exodus probably has 16 times the detail of the closest other post-apocalyptic survival game. The graphics of Metro do a good job of building the world, but it's the sound design which truly immerses you into it. When not in combat, an eerie silence permeates the air, broken only by the sound of your character walking, running, or breathing, making you feel as if you are there. The tense and brutal combat will, coupled with the sound, keep you permanently on edge, paying close attention, trying to catch any sign of a potential enemy approaching. Even more unnervingly are the critters clattering or slithering around, giving you a false sense of danger when there is none. The tension is even more palpable when you are surrounded by hostiles and are doing your best to stealthily pass them by as to conserve health and ammo. This is ramped up even more when you are wearing your gas mask, almost giving you a claustrophobic feeling, amplified with a slight and ever-increasing sense of dread as you constantly monitor your filters. The end result is an incredibly atmospheric game that can pull you in so deep that it produces some genuinely good jump scares, as if the monster that has just reared its ugly head is assaulting you directly. And while the game is single-player, it doesn't mean you'll be adventuring alone. Your protagonist will also be accompanied by a large and colorful cast of characters which will help, guide, and motivate you. But most of all, the crew helps humanize the story. When interacting with them, you'll learn some of their backstories, watch them grow closer, or gain and regain purpose lost in the war, and even celebrate like one big family. Throughout the world, you'll also come across tape recordings, notes, and diaries which will help build the backstory of a location and its people. Oftentimes, these are also filled with chilling accounts of desperation and the slow descent into depravity as society itself breaks down amidst the turmoil of war. It's these moments which really punch home the feeling that Metro, at its heart, is a human tragedy, one not just about survival, but the strive for a better life. And it makes the stakes of the individual missions that much higher as you grow to genuinely care for the characters traveling with you. To navigate this hostile world requires a more patient approach than other games. Before a mission, you will want to evaluate the current state of your gear and weapons, and if you have the necessary resources to go in for a fight. As hinted at so far, your weapons and gear can degrade, while ammunition and healing are in limited supply. Thus, while you could rush through the game's story, often you will be encouraged by circumstance to explore for resources, to maintain and upgrade your gear while also keeping your stocks up. For this reason, stealth is also a far better option, and while I did find myself getting frustrated trying to stealth through all the sections of the game, I still felt myself going back to it time and again due to necessity. Human enemies can also be swiftly dispatched by sneaking up to them and meleeing, a huge ammo-saving boon, and a lot of monsters are also more sedentary and predictable when not engaged in combat. The monsters in particular I found quite difficult, with their movements being quite erratic once provoked, making it harder to line up headshots. Monsters also have the disturbing tendency to attract other monsters as well once engaged. Being caught out can lead to a dangerous downward spiral, as the more monsters join in, the more likely you are to tense up and miss shots, and the stealthy weapons also have some combat-related drawbacks, forcing you to use your automatic weapons, which can in turn attract more monsters due to the noise. This can lead to precarious situations of you running out of ammo and having to melee to survive. This is particularly nasty a problem, as many monsters can initiate a special grab attack which will damage you, has the risk of killing you outright, and forces you to engage a fast button prompt to survive. For this reason, I believe the game is best experienced on some of the higher difficulties. At the very least on normal, which won't be overly oppressive but will still force you to respect the game's mechanics and in turn immerse you. If you play on the lowest difficulty, you will minimize the sense of danger, undermining the feeling of tension and risk, which in turn pulls you out of the experience. For your exploration and discipline, you are rewarded with new weapon bases, attachments, and gear upgrades. The attachments are particularly brilliant as they allow you to customize your weapons, tailoring them to particular situations. I often found myself adapting a weapon for long range and stealth, and the other two, an automatic and a single shot, more for short range damage, but you could easily reconfigure them based on your situation. The customization doesn't also affect your weapon's stats, it alters them visually, as you would expect to see when replacing a pistol barrel with an assault barrel, for example. And I just love the customizations, as it gives you so many options with each weapon and really helps you create something unique. In terms of monetization and value, I find that Metro is quite fair. It is priced at the standard AAA fare of €60 or dollars, depending on region. And for this cost, you get a very focused single-player experience where all the individual elements of the game work off and enhance each other. My only gripe is that I feel the campaign might be a bit short, averaging at only around 30 hours for the amount of money. In all fairness, this might be a result of me playing on normal difficulty, with a higher one probably increasing the time spent in-game, as you'll generally be a lot more careful in your approach. Factoring in the replay value from playing the game again for a different ending, or to try and discover all the secrets, I can see you getting probably 60 hours out of the game, giving you the magical 1 hour of gameplay per currency spent. In addition, there aren't yet any DLCs for Metro, but the game does feel complete, with no content apparently cut for a quick buck. So, once more, what you buy is what you get, clean, transparent, and fair. On the topic of fairness though, I do have to talk a bit about the Epic Store versus Steam debacle, and will also voice my stance on this. In all honesty, I think the move to the Epic Store was a terrible mistake in how it was handled and for the consumer implications. The game was available for pre-order for a fairly long time on Steam, and it felt very cheap for the game to suddenly be made temporarily exclusive to the Epic Store just before release. This move might have been less controversial had it been done sooner or from the onset, and would have not garnered as much vitriol. Regardless of how the move was handled though, it did raise a big discussion on the topic of the various platforms and how it impacts the consumer. While many critiques are being thrown at Steam for trying to build a monopoly, it can't be denied that Steam so far has been extremely feature-rich and pro-consumer, its strongest points being the review system and forums, which allow users to share their opinions on the games freely and openly. This aspect is particularly important in this day and age, where video game companies are resorting to increasingly shady tactics to try and hide the nature of their faulty products, often attempting to also pay video game reviewers and companies for more favorable scores or to overlook certain aspects. The consumers need to have a voice and for it to be heard loud and clear. Otherwise, the video game companies will not be held accountable and will continue to slide into a slippery slope of producing increasingly worse, abusive, or predatory games. The Epic Store so far doesn't have a review system or a forum and is, in my opinion, taking a more anti-consumer approach by censoring discussions surrounding these issues. As such, if you disagree with this approach gaming companies are taking, and you want to voice your opinion, the best way you can do it is with your wallet. Gaming companies are paying more and more attention to this and will react if you hit their bottom line. So, if you hate the Epic Store and what it represents, forgo it and buy Metro Exodus from Steam. I know this is the harder option as it means waiting an additional year for Exodus to release on Steam, but this is the nature of the world we're living in now. To continue enjoying good games in the future, some sacrifices need to be made in the short term. Overall, I give Metro Exodus a solid 8 out of 10. The game immerses you in a haunting, atmospheric, and tragic world where all the pieces come together to produce a sum greater than the whole. It sets out to tell a story of hope in a world desperate for it, and does so well. I couldn't rate the game any higher though. As well, it and the story it tells are very good. It didn't quite grip me emotionally as much as God of War did, but it's still a very strong recommendation from me as soon as the game hits Steam. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking and sharing it, leaving a comment as well as subscribing. I do my best to produce content weekly and I'm also working on some new video types to complement the reviews. You can also find me on twitch.tv/Destructicon and read some of my StarCraft 2 coverage on teamliquid.net. Shout out to Team Liquid and my friends for the continual feedback and support. Thank you all for watching and have a wonderful day.